perfect fat loss or perfect weight loss. A program of 10 sets of 10 compound movements with 1 minute rest intervals at 70 to 80% of 1 rep max. And whereas I interpret that as a possible mistake by Jeff or a member of his production crew,
a mistake, a little oversight, you know, kind of like if NASA forgot where the moon was. What's up guys, Enkiri here, and it looks like our old pal, the man who has defended 20 rep squats as a motor learning tool for beginner lifters.
What's up motivators, welcome back, it's Kevin, this is Pure Bullfit. Now,
Pure Bullfit has finally graced us all with his thoughts regarding the Athlean-X fake weights debacle. Unfortunately for Kevin, however, all he really ended up proving with his response video is that he's another Athlean-X sycophant, an obsequious apologist for Jeff, and that the shtick that he built his entire channel on, which is to call out the bullshit in the fitness industry, is in fact bullshit itself. He calls out the bullshit, or should I say bullfit, alright, unless it's Athlean-X who's spewing it. And you can't really have that. Not if you're trying to paint yourself in the way that Kevin has tried to paint himself. If you want to be the YouTube fitness police, then you have to be unbiased and objective.
I'm not an impartial party. I don't pretend to be an impartial party. I have a clear bias to give Jeff some slack.
And you have to police everybody equally, or else you simply lose all credibility in regard to that endeavor. Why should anyone trust your evaluations of people or content anymore? You've outright admitted that you're not an objective party and that you have ulterior motives. So how do I know that Athlean-X hasn't paid you off a handsome sum to defend his channel at all costs? And on the other side of that, maybe the only reason that you hate Joel Seedman's advice so much is because he tried to bang your girlfriend. How should I know? Those two guys have often doled out similar advice, so why the heck do you love one of them so much, but you absolutely hate the other? It doesn't really make too much sense, dude. You see where I'm going with this? It calls into question your integrity. How can anyone trust what you're saying about anyone when you outright admit that you allow your personal opinions, biases, and feelings that you have about people to cloud your judgment of their information and your evaluation of their work? You aren't judging the information anymore, you're simply judging how you feel about that person. And that's not how this works. Not for the job that you signed yourself up for, Kevin. You don't get to pretend to be a moral authority, a third party whose sole purpose is to provide objective and unbiased analysis so that people aren't led astray by bullshit, only to let your own preconceived notions and cognitive biases override absolutely every fact that's been presented up to this point. It's bullshit, dude. It's honestly bullshit. And the sad fact is, I think that even you know that. But because you're not a completely lost cause like your buddy Alan Roberts, I'm gonna actually give you some genuine advice here. Take a step back and reevaluate. I know that you don't like me for whatever reason, which is odd because, I mean, I've seen some of your comments about me, and almost anytime anyone even mentions my name, you respond in a really bitter way, even though you literally came out the frickin' woodwork last year to attack me. So I don't know what that's all about because you started it, not me. So don't get it all twisted up in your revised hindsight. But so maybe you should take a step back and reflect on that too. But regardless of your feelings towards me, you really might want to take a step back and reevaluate after this whole thing is over, because you made yourself look pretty bad here. And your credibility as an objective caller out of the bullshit is going to take a pretty big hit because of it. Anyway though, that's the best I can do for you, bud. Take it or leave it, the choice is yours. It's no skin off my nuts either way. So let's get to old Kevy's tired and lackluster argument now. So the very first thing I want to note is that Kevbo conveniently forgot to address the primary piece of evidence at hand here, which is Jeff's deadlifts. There are multiple instances of Jeff claiming that he's lifting nearly 500 pounds or that he can lift 500 pounds when the weights involved are clearly fake. And this morning someone else even sent me another clip that no one had even found yet where he claims again that he's a 500-pound deadlifter. So now there are 3 known instances to my knowledge of this occurring where he's claiming to be a 500-pound deadlifter when we all know that that is simply not fucking factual. Yet, Kevin's synopsis of the situation boils down to this.
This is the unassailable proof? I don't find those arguments so compelling.
Even though he conveniently ignored the most damning evidence of all throughout his entire 15-minute response video.
Almost at 500 pounds, 491. I can deadlift 500 pounds, that I can do.
Yeah, mighty convenient there, buddy. And then the entirety of his video basically just ends up being one big strawman and ad hominem attack. It's really just one big sad attempt to distract and divert and disqualify the sources of the information.
A lying sack of duplicitous crap like some of the people that he follows.
By slandering their names, myself included. But I have to say, it was a pretty feeble argument overall. I'll tell you what though, Kev, if you inexplicably decide to address this topic again, the first argument out of your mouth better pertain to the deadlift footage. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep calling you out for your pure bullfit. And more people are just going to stop listening to you altogether.
This is not the video that I wanted to make first thing coming back from another long hiatus of
all of a sudden it becomes, well, I don't really feel like talking about that anyway because it's just not important. That's weird. It used to be really important to you when it suited you, Kevbo. So this excuse ain't really cutting the baloney, bro.
Vegan Gains and Enkiri were making videos saying that Jeff Cavaliere uses fake weights. So you mean the self-proclaimed sociopath?
You can think Richard is a sociopath. That's completely fine. That's your opinion. I don't really care either way. You're not a psychologist though, so it is still just an opinion, not a diagnosis. However, regardless of how you cut it, this is an ad hominem. Even if Richard is a sociopath, a clinically diagnosed sociopath, that has no relevance to the validity of the fake weight allegations. It means he has antisocial personality disorder. So why don't you try sticking to the topic at hand for once, instead of trying to sidetrack people by consistently belittling and insulting the people that you disagree with. And 2, he's not a self-proclaimed sociopath. If he was a self-proclaimed sociopath, that would mean that he got up on his YouTube channel and announced to the world that he was a sociopath. But I don't think that happened. Also, this.
Who has trouble understanding basic exercise physiology.
Another video, he talked about recommending 20 rep squat sets to beginners who are still learning how to squat.
For beginners, establishing a motor pattern is the most important thing. You allude to that point. The best way to establish a motor pattern is through repetition. More reps, higher rep sets allow for more repetition than low rep sets.
Now, who misunderstands basic exercise physiology again?
And a guy who's been caught misrepresenting, misinterpreting, and bald-faced lying to you thinks Jeff Cavaliere is a fraud.
Come on, dude. Let's be real for 1 second. I didn't lie about anything. And again, I think that you know that. I made what was in reality a relatively benign critique of Jeff Cavaliere last year. One that actually included heaps of praise in regards to his knowledge of anatomy and his skills as a physiotherapist. Jeff is clearly a very knowledgeable guy. He's intelligent and well-educated and obviously has a thorough grasp of anatomy and rehab and prehab practices. Yet, for some reason, you never mention that. And you also don't mention the fact that I acknowledge that it's possible that with the thousands upon thousands of hours of video published on his channel, that I may have overlooked some references to the concept of progressive overload. And I think I found one video where he used the term like one time without really going into any detail about it at all. And for a strength coach with 7 million subscribers, that's not really gonna cut it. So maybe I overlooked it, but I watched a lot of his stuff and you would think it would be mentioned more often given its level of importance when it comes to strength training. Instead, all you ever talk about is how I supposedly lie, with no factual evidence to support your assertions, when the reality is you missed the entire point of my critique video in the first place. I'm not saying that his advice is bad overall. I'm just saying that it's been misrepresented as to what it actually is. There's a reason we have both strength coaches and physical therapists, and that they exist as independent professions that cohabitate together pretty fucking well. They almost act as a yin and a yang, keeping things in perfect balance. Well, Jeff's advice is mostly rooted in therapy and maintaining balance in the body, not putting undue stress on soft tissues, keeping joints healthy, fixing common problem areas, etc. But the majority of his advice, I'm talking like 80 or even 90% of it, is not going to help you become stronger or more powerful or more athletic, because it's just a different wheelhouse. Paying lip service to progressive overload is not the same thing as demonstrating or properly teaching or properly emphasizing it when you have a channel that's constantly in flux with hordes of novice lifters. Anytime anyone comes to me and says, Alec, what should I do? I pretty much always say some variation of start from here and work your way up slowly. Does that sound fair? And I don't have 10 million subscribers. And so it all kind of circles back to what I was saying last year in my original critique video. Did I hit every nail dead center on the head in that video? No, probably not. But the overall message was absolutely correct. And this whole fake weights debacle simply hammers that point home. You and James are the ones who misrepresented me. I didn't lie about anything that I saw when I made that original video. I watched several hours of his content, pulled at fucking random, no less. And then I created a synopsis of what I saw. End of story. So quit with your bullshit, slanderous narrative already. It's over now.
Fuck to give what those two think, and I haven't even seen their content recently, so I don't know what their argument sounds like.
Translation, I'm completely out of the loop, so everything that I'm about to say right now is complete and utter bullshit that I just pulled straight out of here.
And Greg Doucette let us know that he's absolutely sure Jeff is using fake weights. Even Alan Roberts and James Linker acknowledge it's more than possible, and all of them agree it really just doesn't matter.
Yeah, in case you still haven't gotten yourself in the loop yet, bro, Greg actually did a complete 180 on that assertion.
So now that I've seen all the evidence, I do care. I care. So now I'm making this video because I actually care. Jeff is a liar. He's lying about how much weight he's lifting.
I'm not an impartial party. I don't pretend to be an impartial party. I have a clear bias to give Jeff some slack.
Once again, then, you need to stop painting yourself as some beacon of truth. And you should probably change the name of your channel as well as its theme, because the mental gymnastics that you're about to employ in defense of these accusations are pretty staggering. And no one who's willing to stoop to this level and publicly and shamelessly display such great bias simply out of favoritism should be allowed to sit on that pedestal. Seriously.
I legitimately think that he can perform every single lift that he has been filmed doing. I do.
Yes, and I shit rainbows and butterflies every morning.
You smell what I smell? That's some pure bullfit.
He sincerely believes that Jeff Cavaliere is the biggest problem in the fitness industry and that it is his mission to expose him.
And now you're lying about Curlean-X too. I've seen him comment on numerous occasions that Jeff has actually done more good than bad in the fitness industry. That the fitness industry would not be better off if he didn't exist. And that he's doing this because people with so much sway and so much influence, people like Jeff, actually need to be held to a higher standard, not a lower standard, when it comes to suboptimal information and poor information in general. And if you actually watched any of his videos with an open mind, you would see that he does make some very fair arguments in regards to some of Jeff's dubious strength training advice. Either that, or I guess you potentially wouldn't think that because you've portrayed yourself as far more of an expert in the field of strength training than you actually are. Again though, you misconstrue arguments, you misconstrue motives, and you lie. Stop projecting this image onto other people when it's your fucking MO.
The second video is of me performing the movement the way that we see in the video with Jeff. I don't know if he was trying to demonstrate the pin press, but that's not what was happening in this video from 2015. This is a partial range of motion bench press, and you can see it is a hell of a lot easier. You even see my bar come in contact frequently with the safety bar, which according to Curl should make this movement so difficult I can't possibly complete it.
Now this part is funny to me because you actually prove Curling's argument here more than you accomplish anything else. It looks like you've got about 315 pounds on the bar here, the same as what Jeff is claiming, and yet somehow your reps actually look like they might move slower than Jeff's do at the same weight. Dude, you weigh what, like 250 pounds, I think? And I know I've seen you bench press 405 pounds before, but somehow I'm supposed to believe that little old Jeffy, weighing 175 pounds, soaking wet, living in a chronic caloric deficit, and advocating half reps on the bench press as recently as just a few years ago, can move 315 pounds for a triple while using a close grip, no less, just as fast as, if not faster and definitely smoother than you, a verified 405 pound bench presser can. You're truly doing yourself a disservice at this point, bud. And just look at the manner in which it moves. It's just off. The mechanics are not correct. It does not look right. 315 pounds does not move like that unless it is very, very sub-maximal for the individual doing the lift. It's only 77% of your 1 rep max, Kevbo, and you don't even make it look that good. I mean, can we just be serious already?
In this portion of the video, Curl starts talking about Jeff doing the bent over row. And in the first video we see, it's 225 pounds with little to no problem. And then in a later video featuring Sheamus, a WWE wrestler, he's struggling with 155. Could this mean that the first video Jeff was using fake plates? Yep, that's a possibility. But anyone who's serious about training understands that performance undulates. It goes up and down. It doesn't simply improve in linear fashion. It doesn't stay the same. It doesn't rise and fall in uniform fashion. Some days are good. Some days are bad, and it could have been anything happening there. He could have been fatigued. He could be physically weaker due to a different style of training between the two videos. He just could have been having a bad day.
Yes, Kevin, anyone who's serious about training does understand that performance undulates. But not to that degree. Personally, if I suffered a performance drop-off of that magnitude, I would call my doctor and schedule an appointment immediately because my first thought would be that I'm dying of fucking cancer. I could take a year off from the gym altogether, and I guarantee you I wouldn't lose that much strength because strength is an enduring physical quality. The more you have of it and the longer you've had it, the more readily it sticks around regardless of what your activity levels are or what your training style may happen to be at the time. I can jerk off in the gym for months at a time and still come back and hit 90% of my best squat or my best deadlift pretty much on any given day. And Jeff's been training far longer than I have, so there's no reason to think that he can't do the same thing. Not to mention, it's a row. 70 pounds on a barbell row is an enormous drop off. In my opinion, that would be equivalent to your squat dropping by 200 pounds or maybe even more. Now, once your back is strong like that and your rowing strength is there, it's going to remain relatively stable regardless of what you've been doing. This isn't a bad day, and this isn't explained by minor differences in training style. This is just another sugar-coated turd of an argument, courtesy of Captain Turd himself.
I do not think it is outside the realm of reason to believe that Jeff Cavaliere can power row 225 pounds for a set of 8. The man is known for his enormous biceps.
The biceps are not playing that much of a role in this movement, even when the hands are supinated. But in this case, his hands are actually pronated, meaning the biceps involvement is minimal to nil. This is how a 225 pound row actually looks from someone who weighs just about as much as Jeff does and is a verified 556 pound conventional deadlifter in competition. Note the differences here. Sure, Jeff is moving his hips a little bit, but he's not actually generating much force through them. And that is obvious to the eye. There's no real body English or oomph involved in it. It's almost like it's someone who's pretending to use body English to make it look like it's real. But it's obviously not.
What you're seeing here is me trying for the very first time with straight legs and a forward lean to curl 135 pounds. At first, it did feel awkward, but then intuitively within seconds I realized it's just because the bar was too far away from my body and all I had to do to bring it back over the midline of my foot was bend my knees a little. And without even resting, I could complete more reps. Is it so hard to believe that somebody who actually regularly trains this movement and has decades of experience couldn't figure out something as simple as bending his legs a little?
Firstly, this is simply an irrelevant comparison. You outweigh him by at least 75 pounds to my knowledge. The bar supposedly almost weighs as much as Jeff does in this instance, just 40 pounds less than him if it actually weighed 135 pounds, whereas you weigh almost twice as much as the barbell, dude. That would drastically alter the dynamics of the lifter barbell system and how it all performs together. You can't compare the physics of your lifting mechanics to someone who you outweigh by that much. They're simply not relevant to each other. Secondly, you aren't even using remotely the same technique here as Jeff. You're basically trying to tell us that within a matter of minutes, you figured out this one cool trick to curl 135 pounds, but yet Jeff isn't even using your one cool trick in his video. So once again, I'm not really sure what the point of you going out of your way to not prove anything was. Thirdly, Jeff clearly holds the weight at the top for a second here in the fully contracted position of the lift with all of the stress being on his biceps. 135 pounds while weighing $175. All the stress on the biceps. Yeah, right. And you don't even do that at all. You don't even come close to doing that in your demonstration. In fact, as soon as the bar reaches the top of your curl, it falls down with moderate speed immediately. And fourthly, here's CT Fletcher performing actual curls with actually 135 pounds. In this demo, he's specifically doing the curls as strictly as he possibly can in order to shut up YouTube trolls. And even this motherfucker here, who is far stronger and far heavier than Jeff, still has to lean back a little bit to curl this weight, even when he is explicitly and specifically doing the movement as strictly as he possibly can.
We get the full range of motion, but we can't see any of the weights. That I don't think that there isn't some movie magic going on right there, but that is not the acknowledgement that guys like Vegan Gains and Enkiri want. They want you to say he's a fraud and that everything that he has to contribute no longer has any value.
Jeff is clearly a very knowledgeable guy. He's intelligent and well-educated and obviously has a thorough grasp of anatomy and rehab and prehab practices. Please don't put words in my mouth again. I never said that. I made a critique last year and I said that Athlean-X is a fantastic physical therapist, but he's not a strength coach. That's all I said. That's all I ultimately concluded. And this time around, all I've argued is that integrity matters and that we should ask for accountability. I've said it's wrong to dupe people into paying a lot of money when you used a lie specifically to bolster your credibility in that regard. I never said that we should burn him at the stake, and I never said his entire body of work should be disregarded. I basically just added this fake weights debacle as more fuel to the fire of my original argument. The man is not a strength coach, and his knowledge regarding the barbell lifts, both how to perform them and how to program for them to make optimal gains, is not up to snuff for someone of his stature. I'm not saying that his advice is bad overall. I'm just saying that it's been misrepresented as to what it actually is. Jeff's advice is mostly rooted in therapy and maintaining balance in the body, but the majority of his advice is not going to help you become stronger or more powerful or more athletic because it's just a different wheelhouse. So please, please, please stop putting words in my mouth. I mean, god damn, stop misrepresenting my arguments and stop lying to your followers about who I am and what I stand for. It's fucking bullshit and you should be ashamed of yourself. But you know what? Whatever. More and more people are starting to hear and understand my message in spite of your deceitful yappings to the contrary. And all you've really done here is destroy your own credibility. So if you want to keep digging that hole, I'll keep clearing the dirt out for you so you can keep digging unimpeded, dude.
He makes mistakes. He gets things wrong, just like any other human being.
Finally, we admit it. We have finally moved past the denial stage. But now my question becomes, okay, so how come when I make a benign critique video of Athlean-X's strength coaching abilities only, you see fit to lambaste and slander me, writing your own narrative about me that completely disregards truth and reality and paints me in the worst possible light you can possibly conjure? All of this you saw fit to do and deemed acceptable based on just one video of mine, when I had an entire library of content already available at that point. Yet, Jeff Cavaliere uses fake weights on multiple occasions to bolster his credibility and sell training programs to unsuspecting novices. Outright lies about the weights he's capable of lifting. Advocates half reps on the bench press as being better for the shoulders. Doesn't know how to deadlift properly, even with light weights. Gives objectively terrible and dangerous advice to millions of people by telling you to breathe out and tighten down before executing a heavy squat in order to squat more weight instantly, or by advising a reckless and impossible training protocol such as his bastardized take on German volume training for weight loss. He does all of these things, and yet when I make the simple and straightforward argument that his strength coaching advice isn't really up to snuff, rather than touching the actual argument, you guys attack and slander me and wholly misrepresent everything that I stand for. Just admit it. I'm not the one with the agenda here, dude. You are. You've been riding Jeff's coattails to prominence since fucking day one. And let's be real here. If anyone is trying to use someone else's name to garner relevance, it's the guy who's repeatedly, publicly kissing his entire ass over and over and over. Not the guy who comes out to critique him. It doesn't take a fucking genius to figure out which of those two tactics is the better way to get easy attention. Keep spinning that fucking narrative though, and I'm sure you'll shit out a golden nugget one day.
Perfect fat loss or perfect weight loss. A program of 10 sets of 10 compound movements with 1 minute rest intervals at 70 to 80% of 1 rep max. I personally disagree that that is advisable for deconditioned people or people who are overweight.
For deconditioned people? Good heavens, man. Just say what you mean already. It's impossible. It cannot be done. If you can do that many reps with a weight, with that little rest, then it's not 70% of your 1 rep max. I've already debunked the shit out of this advice, and I'm gonna post that link just for you, Kevin, so that you can watch that video and see how ridiculous that advice is.
I think that that would be very, very difficult for somebody who is in incredible shape. It would be an absolute grinder.
You're giving me a fucking headache. Being in shape has nothing to do with this. It's physiologically impossible to complete this protocol. If you complete the protocol, then you didn't follow it the way that Jeff wrote it. It's that simple. It's just an absurd and frankly reckless recommendation. And to be honest, with you here, Kevin, even suggesting that it might be possible for somebody, you make yourself look pretty bad, dude.
And whereas I interpret that as a possible mistake by Jeff or a member of his production crew.
Ah, okay, I see now. It was just a mistake and a little oversight. Okay. And it wasn't even Jeff's fault. It was a member of his production crew that made the mistake. Well, that's a little odd though, because I'm inclined to think that if Jeff knew what he was talking about when it comes to strength training, that someone would have handed him this advice, he would have read it, and he would have gone, whoa, hold the fuck on there, that's not correct because that's impossible. But he didn't say that, did he? So which is it, dude? Did Jeff write and approve the protocol himself, meaning that his knowledge base when it comes to strength training might not be quite so high as you've been led to believe? Or was it a mistake, an oversight by a member of his production crew, an egregious mistake, obvious to even someone with the most rudimentary level of knowledge when it comes to strength training, that Jeff, the expert strength coach, somehow didn't notice, even though he repeatedly stated it in his video over and over and over again, indicating that his knowledge base when it comes to strength training might not be quite so high as you've been led to believe? Which could it be, Kevin? Was it incompetence or incompetence? You tell me. Seriously, just stop trying to defend this. It's indefensible because it's a ludicrous suggestion. If you think it has any merit whatsoever, then put your fucking money where your mouth is. I challenge you to just go ahead and do it. I've seen you squat 500 pounds on camera, so on day one, you get to use 350 pounds, which is 70% of your 1 rep max, 60 seconds in between sets, 10 sets of 10 reps, 100 total reps. Do it. No camera cuts. I'll watch the whole goddamn video. I'll time your rest periods too, just to be sure you didn't go 1 second over the allotted 60 seconds. And if you can't do it, or you won't even try it, then just shut the fuck up and admit that it's bullshit. And then after you fail to do the protocol even once, we can pretend like someone could repeat that protocol multiple times with enough frequency to create a training effect, while slowly increasing the load on the bar. And I took a nice big shit this morning, and it was full of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And then I kissed my pet unicorn right on the forehead and told him he was a very good boy.
But his fake weights? So it matters, but does it make a difference? I don't think it changes the efficacy of the information that has drastically improved my own performance.
Again, you're just trying to distract people. You're not addressing the arguments here. Using fake weights is deceitful in and of itself. As a man who sells expensive training programs, using weights to prove to people that you're stronger than you are is an implicit attempt at bolstering the credibility of your training methods, trying to prove their worth in that regard and convince people to shell out their hard-earned dollars in your direction. It's a scam. It's fraudulent. And you're simply out here trying to distract everyone from the issue at hand with your own sleight of hand. The same thing that Jeff tried to do the other day when he commented on Greg Doucette's video and ignored the fake weight allegations altogether and tried to make the argument about natty status instead, which nobody really fucking cares about. But people don't fall for that. They won't fall for this either. And if you want to debate and defend this topic, then defend this topic. Stop trying to alter the subject and stop trying to distract people. It's disingenuous and it makes you exactly the same as the very plague that you've purported yourself to be a necessary opposing force to counteract. It's the self-destruction of your own brand and your own credibility. And like I said, if you want to keep digging that hole, I am happy, more than happy, to keep clearing away the excess dirt for you so you can keep on digging unimpeded, Kev.
And if you're not the kind of person who would stick up for or defend or support the people that have made a difference in your life, you're just not worth knowing. He doesn't even need to take Alec up on this ridiculous deadlift dual challenge. I don't know why that guy's trying to make himself somehow relevant to the conversation, but he's not, and it's cringy as fuck.
And in true bullfit fashion, he closes his argument with another straw man and another ad hominem, simply trying to distract from the actual arguments that have been made and why they matter, and he tries to paint himself as a self-righteous, morally superior good guy who's just doing the right thing and sticking up for his buddy. Kevin, you do realize that a single person can have helped one person at one point in time and then also done something objectively fraudulent and deceitful at another point in time. These things are not mutually exclusive. You do realize that, right? You seem to have a very hard time grasping and discerning nuance. Ultimately, this response makes you look like a giant hypocrite, just like your buddy Alan Roberts. You honestly just look like a tryhard and a phony, pretending like your curl technique was even remotely comparable to what Jeff did with the fake weights, acting like your pin press demonstration somehow disproves Curlean's argument when it actually just fortifies his position, misrepresenting arguments and facts like you always do, lying about certain aspects of things like you always do, throwing in plenty of straw men to distract and deflect from the actual argument at hand, ignoring the most damning evidence that exists altogether, just like Jeff did, repeatedly succumbing to the logical fallacy of the ad hominem by attacking credibility and slandering people instead of addressing what they're actually saying, and then even throwing in a few false breadcrumbs where you're critical of Jeff on trivial details just to make it look like you've maintained some semblance of objectivity. Overall, it's just an abysmal failure of an argument, mostly just because it was indefensible to begin with. What you're trying to do is defend against the truth and defend against integrity and accountability and why those things matter so much in general. And in doing so, people honestly have to take a step back and evaluate your motives and your level of integrity and your level of honesty as well. And if you don't have the spine or the guts to amend your stance on this issue, then I honestly doubt that people will be able to take you seriously for that much longer. But if that's what you want, that's your prerogative. I don't really fucking care. Anyway, that's all I got for now, guys. Please be sure to like the video. Don't forget to send it on over to KevBo so we can be sure that he sees it, because we know he doesn't watch my content, which is unfortunate for him. But leave me some love in the comments down below. Keep training hard, and I'll catch you guys next time.
You smell what I smell? That's some pure bullfit.